Good morning, I'm Sandra Ankobia, and this is the Legal Desk right here on New Day. And of course, my in-house lawyer Samuel's joining me this morning, and we're going to be talking about termination and dismissal when it comes to labor law. Good morning, counsel.
Good morning, Sandra.
How are you doing?
Great.
I can see that you're well prepared for court this morning.
I am.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
Well, a funeral at my hometown, Clippe.
Oh, you're sorry.
And amazingly, so many people there listen to, they watch
the show.
Yes,
so they recognize you.
Yes, and
yeah.
I encourage them to keep watching because
thank
we
you.
inform them a lot.
Thank you for that. Okay, so today we're looking at termination and dismissal.
Yes.
Is there any similarities between a termination and a dismissal?
Yes. And it's important people understand in terms of the legal concept. All right. People will use the terms loosely, but it's not really interchangeably. It depends on the circumstances and the legal effect that you want to give to either termination or dismissal.
Okay, so what is a termination?
Now, when we talk about termination, that's the broad concept of ending the relationship of employer-employee relationship. Okay, the broad concept whereby you like we said from the very beginning, a contract of employment is not a contract of servitude, and so you can get to a time that I have had enough of working with you or for you. So the worker or the employer can say that enough is enough. I think that we must part company. And that is what we call termination. So that is a very broad concept that we can call termination. Yes.
Okay, what about a dismissal?
Now, when we talk about dismissal, it means that now it's also termination, all right, whereby you are ending the relationship.
Okay.
Except that now the grounds are different and the legal effect is different. When we talk about dismissal, normally then we are saying that you are going to end the contract on the basis of maybe punishment or sanction. All right, as against the normal situation whereby you work with somebody for a period of time and the person thinks that it's enough. All right, and then there's a way to go about it.
Okay.
But dismissal has got some kind of sanction or punishment undertone. So it must be because something has happened upon which basis you decide to dismiss.
Okay, lawyer, can you say that again so that we can really understand it? Termination is terminating the contract.
Yes, bringing it to an end.
Okay,
but in bringing the contract of employment to an end, there are two ways.
Okay.
There's a one that, again, we can call it termination, and there's a one we can call dismissal. But both will end up in what? Ending the relationship.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about termination, this is where, with a given reason or not, you've had enough. And so the employer thinks that, look, we should part company.
Meaning that they are not obliged to give you reasons for terminating your contract. Okay.
Except that the law gives you the procedure to do it. Okay. And the procedure normally is that you give the worker notice, or the other way around. Okay. The worker can also say, look, I've worked here long enough. I think that I must move on. And so what do? I give you the employer notice that after a period of time, normally it's either 1 month or 3 months, I want to leave. And that one should end it nicely, maybe with a handshake. We have worked enough, now let's go on. Now, but when it comes to dismissal, normally there is the other way around. It is the worker, is the employer that is terminating the employment of the worker on grounds of sanction. He's sanctioning the worker. So it doesn't come necessarily with the notice.
Okay.
All right. And undertone, there are some elements of punishment.
Okay. Is there a need to give reasons, whether it's a termination or a dismissal? Is there the need to give reasons for terminating somebody's employment?
In the area of termination, it's not necessary that you give notice, reasons. But sometimes you can't give reasons. Because normally under termination, you are giving the worker a period of time that, look, after 1 month, I don't want to work with you anymore. And so you can give the reasons or not give it if you are not obliged.
Okay.
All right. But in the case of dismissal, because it's got some punishment undertone, you want to make sure that you let the worker know
exactly
that this is the reason why I am dismissing you.
Okay.
All right. And because of the differences in the legal effect, that is why it's important that in the case of dismissal, there's no need to give notice.
Okay.
There's no need to
Is there any laid down procedure for a termination or a dismissal?
Now, in the area of termination, it means that you must go by the contract that you have signed, the contract of employment, or by the Labor Act. And when we talk about that one, normally, termination, you give notice. And the period of notice depends on the nature of the employment. You know, we discuss monthly employment, we have weekly or daily. Now, if the person is on monthly employment, contract of employment, they normally will give a month's notice.
Okay.
The practice in businesses is that senior management are normally giving 3 months notice.
Okay.
Of intention to what? To terminate the contract.
Okay.
Or salary in lieu of the period is important.
What does that mean?
Right. What it means is that the employer can tell the employee, the worker, that look, after 1 month, I will not continue the contract of employment with you.
Okay.
All right. Then the worker stays at post. He keeps working for 1 month. But in some institutions, it is not safe for the employer to tell the employee that in a month's time or 3 months' time, I will sack you or I will not work with you anymore, and still keep him at post. Why? Because the employer, that's the employee, the worker, can sabotage the work. Exactly.
Right.
So normally, for instance, in financial institutions, the person is working with, is handling your money, and then you tell him that in 1 month's time, I'm not going to work with you anymore. What do you think will happen within that 1 month?
They won't get the job done.
So what happens is that the employer is permitted either to give you a month's notice or your salary, your month's salary, in lieu of notice.
Okay.
So we are in February now. Assuming that an employer wants to terminate the work in March, okay, that's the he may give a month's notice.
Right.
All right. But instead of waiting to the end of March, he may pay you your salary for March.
And ask you not to come to work again.
And then now you can go. And then he has still satisfied his legal obligation.
Okay, that's interesting. What about summary dismissal? I keep hearing about summary dismissal. What is a summary dismissal?
Again, there are two aspects of dismissal. I said that dismissal is where there is a kind of a sanction undertone. All right. Now, the main issue about dismissal is that when a person is dismissed, he is in the company because of dismissal. Right. But when you are terminating, you pay all those. Can also terminate the employment anytime he wishes. And he also doesn't need to give the boss reason why. But
is that sort of like a resignation?
Yes, resignation is a bit close to dismissal in the other way, on the other side. You know, how the employer can dismiss, the employee can resign. And resign to is like instant. You see, it's very important that we understand that it's a two-way thing. For instance,
when it comes to termination, it's a two-way thing.
In the whole contract of employment. Right. Okay, when it comes to termination, the worker can also decide to end. And what he must do is to give the employer notice. Many workers don't know. They think that, well, I'm a worker, I'm tired, I won't go to work anymore. You call your boss, I'm not coming no more. No. Because you're also in a contract, so you must inform your boss, either in a month's notice or 3 months' notice, or salary in lieu of notice.
Okay.
That is that if you are leaving instantly without giving your boss notice, the law requires you to pay 1 month of your salary to your boss.
Oh,
for leaving.
Vice versa, the same as your boss would have to pay.
Exactly.
You also pay your boss for a month's salary
if you don't give notice.
Okay,
yes,
that's interesting.
Or yes, and it's in the same way for the dismissal. The boss can dismiss, the worker can resign. Instantly.
Okay.
And
without giving.
Yes.
But with the resignation, you have to give a reason.
Well, you may give reason, and it must also be fair to the employer.
Okay. All right. What about summary dismissals? Do you need to give reason? Summary
dismissal normally comes if we pick the issues that constitute the base of summary dismissal. They'll be talking about things like fraud. Things that the lawyers will normally say that you've brought the organization into disrepute. All right, you've acted in such a way that the image, the reputation of the organization is destroyed. Or sometimes what they call gross insubordination. Things like theft, things like fraud, things like crime. I mean, things that are bad, seriously bad, that the employer can simply not maintain you for the next day. Then he summarily dismisses you. And he may give you the reason, but that is instant. But why it is quite a challenge is that you are going to lose your entitlement. And that is why I normally would advise employers that be very careful when you want to dismiss a worker summarily. Because if the basis of the dismissal is not justified, the worker would react.
Okay.
In the sense that, you see, in the area of termination, the worker would get his benefits with him. All right, he will take either the pay in lieu of notice, any other salary that he's due, any other allowances. You
so
pay
it's
him
not
all those
really
things.
acrimonious.
Exactly. Yes, I mean he has not got any basis in law. Even if he goes to court, he has not got any basis because this is what you agreed upon. Right. But in the case of summary dismissal, the employee loses those things. So if the basis of the summary dismissal is not justified, then we go to areas like wrongful dismissal, unfair dismissal, and these things lead to court and then eventually causes a lot of problems. So personally, I would normally advise employers that if you are not too sure whether the ground upon which you want to dismiss the worker is sufficient for it to be a summary dismissal, why not just give him notice or just pay him? Give him his entitlements. Once he's paid his entitlement, whether you give reasons, whether the reasons are fair or not, the worker hasn't got any legal claim against the employer.
But normally or generally, these grounds are usually stated in the contract of employment, aren't they?
Yes. For most companies, very good companies, what they'll do is that in the contract of employment itself, you may not find much, but you find it in the collective agreement that in this institution, if you do these things, you are warned. If you do these things, we give you a query. If you do these things, your employment will be terminated. It's clear. And then the situations for summary dismissal are usually clearly stated that upon these grounds, drunkenness and etc. So they state it clearly, and almost everybody must know. But nevertheless, if it so happens, then it must be established. Okay, if you say that this is the reason why, then you make sure that you are on safe grounds, else you dismiss somebody and the person will take action against you.
Okay, what about retirement? How does retirement come in, or where does it come in over here?
Oh, retirement is normally when the period that the contract, the person is agreed that after a period of time or at a certain age, then the employee can leave. And that one is also a nice way to end a contract of employment. Usually,
as well as death.
Yes, death, 60 years, everybody knows. So it's fine. Normally goes with a party. A retirement to carry party because all the benefits come with it. It's a nice occasion. There's no sanction. There's no punishment, of course. If it happens in the case of death too, unfortunately, that one, nobody can take action against anybody.
Okay, all right. That's all the time we have today. But tomorrow, can we talk about the effects of termination and dismissal under Section 13?
Exactly. Then we go to the Labor Act and see the circumstances under which a person can be summarily dismissed or the
contract can be terminated,
and the legal effect of it. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Lawyer Samuel. Always a pleasure to have you on. This has been the Legal Desk.